Now, the president has heard the voices of the FCT indigenes and indeed nominated someone amongst them. Now what? What is that development they hope to get that has been pressing for the advocacy for one of them to be picked? That's what we'll be discussing. And to do justice to that is Likita Galadima Karshi. Yes. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff, FCT Youth Network. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
All right, thank you and good morning all.
Good morning and welcome to Asal Morning.
As earlier said, I am by name Likita Galadima Karshi, the Deputy Chief of Staff, FCT Youth Network.
Yes.
I am here on behalf of the FCT Youth Leader, Comrade Umar Ibrahim Makeri.
Okay.
That is the leader, FCT Youth
So we
leader.
thank him for sending you to represent him.
Thank you, ma.
so
Thank
much
you.
for being
Yeah.
part.
Okay, so let's start the conversation. Zephaniah Jisalo,
Yeah.
Yeriman Garki, as he's
Garki.
popularly called.
Yeah.
After how many years? 40-something years of FCT moving to Abuja, the indigenes had given the federal government their lands to develop, to use as a capital territory.
Yeah.
But in all this while, we haven't had that ministerial position, especially since 1999. I know that series of meetings, different CSOs, youth organizations like yours, have been clamoring and asking Mr. President to give a nomination to the FCT minister. And finally, your prayers or your call has been answered. Now, the question is, what is Jisalo bringing to the table? I know he was a former chairman of AMAC. I know he was also representing the House of Rep with
AMAC
and Buhari constituency.
Yeah.
But other than that, he has a good portfolio. I actually looked at him, and he's actually from my alma mater. He's from Unigel, so great Joe side to him.
Yeah.
But other than this, finally you've gotten it. What do you think, and what are the expectations that the FCT indigenes will be expecting Jisalo to tackle when he's finally confirmed?
All right, thank you, ma. First and foremost, we have to appreciate Mr. President for nominating one of us as minister today.
Yeah.
Jisalo, in passing, is a two-term chairman of Abuja Municipal Council. At the same time, a member House of Rep representing AMAC and Buhari. From his track record, Zephaniah is one of those that we believe, we the FCT native and residents, that Zephaniah will unite everybody because it's very simple and kind.
Okay.
Zephaniah in person is our prayer ever since.
Oh, okay. So
The FCT native, even the youth, before we the youth, we involve in protests. If we are asking for anything, we involve in protests. Zephaniah is one of the stakeholders or leaders that call the youth. It is not time for protest, it is time for negotiation. We have to go around table with any agency, being it compensation or any other thing, so that we agree on one thing instead of evaluating or doing other things. So as a leader, we believe if such person is given an opportunity to represent FCT, he will do the best.
So what do the FCT indigenes want? I know you just mentioned compensation, and I know that quite a number of lands were taken from indigenes for the government, for development purposes. What do the indigenes of FCT want that they need representation?
Number one of our prayer has been answered.
Which is a
ministerial slot. We need a representative in the Federal Executive Council, which we have now gotten. As regards to what we want, if our second prayer will be answered, we are soliciting for Mr. President to nominate Zephaniah as FCT Minister of State or Senior Minister, if possible.
Okay.
Because Zephaniah, from his track record, he has an experience much more about FCT than any other person. Because he's an indigenous person. Yeah. He works here in the FCT. All his activities are in FCT. He has the landmark of FCT more than any other person.
Makes sense.
He knows all our problems in FCT. Like issue of compensation you are saying. The federal government, let's say FCDA are now trying. Ever before, there is nothing like compensation in FCT. They will just say, okay, relocate to social place or do this, do that. But now, as time goes now, before any other thing, we have to sit down. That's why I recommend Zephaniah from the first time. He is among those that call youth instead of evaluating government properties and other things, we need to sit down and agree on one thing.
Okay.
Let the FCDA directors come, then we'll sit down. Okay, they are going to allocate so place, then we'll have a division now. Okay, the indigene will take so part, then the other part will be taken by the government.
Okay, so what would you say in retrospect, looking back, the FCT has lacked, not having somebody from as an indigene be the minister?
All right. As regards to this FCT since 1976, the creation of FCT, let me come to democracy 1999.
Right.
Since then, we have nobody to represent us in any level of the government.
And yet, it's still the most beautiful city in
And
Nigeria.
it's the most fastest growing city in Nigeria.
But isn't that to your advantage?
What would you say it has really lacked?
Yeah, what we are lacking is when we talk of democratically or political aspect, we, the indigenous people of FCT, we think we are marginalized. We are marginalized. Why? Because the other state, let me say FCT as a whole, is more than 8 states in Nigeria by land landscape and even population. FCT is more than 8 states in Nigeria. Let me not call any state. I will not call any state.
No, but I really need to check that out.
Okay,
there's a possibility because Abuja is very large. Yes, there's a possibility. There's so many states.
Forget about even FCT. Let me bring a small reference here. Amak in particular, Abuja Municipal Council, is more than Likita State. Go and check.
It's possible.
I won't argue with
just
you.
Amak, not the whole of FCT, is more than Likita State. Yeah. And we have only one representative representing Amak and Bori. Amak alone have 1,000 plus polling units when it comes to politics. 1,000 plus polling units. If you are campaigning for Amak chairman, if you are aspiring for Amak chairman, it's as if you are campaigning for governor.
Right. But that's the peculiarity that comes to the FCT.
But the problem is we have only one representative in Amak and Bori.
If you have one representative, and Joy has rightfully said, one of the most beautiful states, it's not a state, but one of the most beautiful territories
in Nigeria. Yeah.
In terms of development, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of medical, education. Of course, even the diversity of people of different ethnic groups, you have them converging here in Abuja, right? Now, the question is saying this, right?
Yeah.
If the FCT as a territory has not been deprived of anything, you have... There's so many, like why FCT is not broken? You're talking of many states that FCT is bigger than. Yeah. But you're not also remembering that FCT is more developed. So being the FCT has always been an advantage to you and your people, whether you have a representation, because the beauty of democracy is what? Representation, to make sure that the dividends of democracy. But you haven't had representations and you've had plenty dividends. It's not fair now.
No, let me respond to this.
Please go ahead.
As regards to the development you are seeing,
yes,
we have what we call it cover up in FCT.
Cover up.
Cover up. Okay. Like we, the ingenious people of FCT, in person talking, I am from Karshi community.
Yes, I could tell that from your name.
I am from Karshi community. From the look of things, the problem we are having in FCT, most of us, the indigenous people, is, as I mentioned earlier, is marginalization. Okay. The development you are seeing in FCT is something of joy. We have to be proud of it, but it's not affecting our rural development, our rural areas. Okay. Let me cite an example with Koroduma here. Is a community where as AIT is citing, AIT's TV station. Like the villages now, if you go around inside the main locality, you won't believe they are in FCT. Because there is nothing for them. You only see mansions around the houses.
I was going to say there are plenty of mansions there.
Good and fine. But the main villages remain where they are. Okay. Let me cut to my own area. Because if you want to talk, you have to say what you have to say. Like in Karshi community, we have schools under universal basic education and under LEA. And the schools are not developed because they are rural areas. The main development you are seeing in FCT is in the cities, not in the rural area. So that is why we need representatives that will do this for us. let's assuming we are having, let's say, in FCT, the whole of FCT is just one senator. The whole of FCT is the one representing Amak, Buari, Kuje, Gwagwalada, Abaji. All the area council, just one senator. Other states are having three senators. Yes. One senator cannot cover the whole of FCT. Right. Let assuming Aduda, the former senator or the present senator now, is representing only Amak as a senator of Amak. He will do better. But representing the whole of the area council, he can't do anything. Then we'll be seen as if we don't even have a representative. Call of the House of Rep, we have 2. The whole of FCT, we have 2. The other one representing Abuja South is representing 4 area council. Gwagwalada, Kuje, Abaji, and Kwali. One House of Rep representing all this. He can't do anything. So politically, we are marginalized. That is why we are crying. Because in terms of governmental activities, we don't involve in anything.
Makes a lot of sense now, because most times when you look at development, especially in the rural area, so what you're saying is making sense. Are you also looking at the options of getting more senators, maybe like 3, like most states, or like 2? I mean, they say like Oliver Twist. When you have one, you ask for more. So now that finally this particular government is saying we have going to give an indigene a ministerial position here, whether it's for the FCT minister or anywhere else, minister, at least he's represented in the Federal Executive Council meeting, so he speaks there. So are you also exploring the youth? You're the leaders of tomorrow. You're the ones who should drive governance in the direction it should go. Are you also exploring more opportunities, more postings, more appointments from this government that will reflect the needs of the FCT indigenes, especially in the rural sector?
As I said earlier, if we may ask or we may solicit for another support, we need additional ministerial slot in FCT. Additional, we have only 1. Other states are having 3. 2.
Mostly the law is like you can have 2 from each state.
Have 2, so that let's make it like the other state. Like now in the case of Trabuna, FCT is now being considered as a state.
I don't know about that.
We know about it.
It's because still in the courts.
I mean, in the Constitution.
In the Constitution.
Right, let's use
if you say FC, we have 36 states in Nigeria, including FCT and FCT. What does that mean?
And means included.
It's still being debated. So
no problem. We are hoping FCT will be part of the state. So if really we are state 2, then we need additional senators.
It makes sense, because when Lagos was the federal capital, Lagos was a state. So there's no reason why Abuja shouldn't have its own governor, why Abuja shouldn't have its own senators or mayor
or state house of assembly.
Exactly. So it makes sense.
But my question would be, would you be disappointed if the president does not deem it fit to have Zephaniah become the FCT minister? After all, like you said, you really want him to be part. You want an FCT indigene to be part of the Federal Executive Council.
We will not be disappointed. Why? Because we believe wheresoever he is, he will do his best. And we will be proud of him by God's grace. So it's not necessary we are only soliciting, we are only requesting, not that we have deemed it to be, he must be FCT minister. No. We are only requesting, but wheresoever he was posted to, we believe he will do his best. As FCT native, we believe and we will give him all the necessary support wheresoever he is.
Okay, good. Before we let you go, the final question would be, of course, you've extolled Zephaniah, and then I think the key word will be he's a grassroots politician, and then basically that. It's a new administration. What do the FCT, and one thing you see in the FCT, irrespective of who the minister is a lot of infrastructural development, but mostly on roads. You rarely see infrastructural development like what you said. I can't remember the last time our guest before you had highlighted some government hospitals that were supposed to be built in even Karshi, your local government, and several other places have been abandoned over the time. So we see only the road constructions that are a lot of the things we see in FCT, but I'm not sure it trickles down to other aspects of the dividends of democracy. With this new administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what kind of changes would you expect to see trickling down to the indigenes of the FCT beyond road constructions?
All right. As regards to FCT rural development, In the side of cities, as we earlier said, we have many, not to even mention. The FCT is fast growing, but the rural areas, we are lacking many things. Like in my, let me say in my ward, Karshi ward, we have some rural area, you can't even travel to that place.
Not motorable.
Not motorable. During election, and they are polling units. During election, you keep your motorbike and trek for almost another kilometer before you reach up there. All these, they are called, go to Kwali Area Council. Like in terms of water, hospitals and other things. All these rural area we are lacking. Much more in terms of education. That is the most priority things we are needing. Education in FCT at the rural area is almost collapsing. I have to say this because you go to a rural area in FCT, children will be sitting on the ground.
In the FCT?
In the FCT.
Wow.
I'm saying this. Go around and check. In the FCT. But why? Because they are rural area, they don't even give them much more attention. Likewise, most of our hospital in the rural area.
What's the primary health care center like in the rural area?
Yeah, the primary health cares in our rural area. Most people don't believe on even like now, if you go to this, our rural area in Abaji, Kwali, and even Kujeria Council, they have primary health care there, but they will not be there.
Why?
They will transfer their patients to neither Kuje or main Abaji city because they are lacking capacity. If you carry a patient to hospital, they'll say the doctor is not even around or they don't have what to treat the patient. Then you have to move to the nearby clinic or other things. So all this is affecting our life.
Okay, so rural development should be priority in whoever turns out to be the FCT minister. That's something we should be looking for. Well, I strongly agree with you. I mean, it's from the grassroots people. You know, if that is tackled, then you won't see so much urbanization into the town. Yes. What about transportation as an indigent? Do you think the transportation network is? I know we have people that say, no, what's the joy from Mararaba from that axis into Abuja is chaotic. You know, there are certain places. Transportation in the FCT, especially for the rural people who are farmers too, getting their produce across. How has that been?
In terms of rural area, transportation is so difficult too, as regards to road network. Because, you know, most of our indigenous people in FCT, we believe in farming. Our main focus or main economic activities is farming. And after all you farm, you don't have means of transporting your means to the market. It's a problem. Most of the rural area you are seeing, like, let me say, in Kwali Area Council. If you go to Kwali Area Council, some part of the Kwali or Kuje, that is Rebochi site, you won't believe they are in FCT.
Right.
You won't believe they are in FCT. I myself, I am a native of FCT, but when we went to Rebochi, that is Gorgoda site.
I've never even heard of all these names you're calling.
When we went to
Gorgoda,
it's in Kuje Area Council.
Okay.
We don't believe it's FCT. I myself, I don't believe they are in FCT. I only see them as maybe they are part of Nasarawa or Kogi. I can't even tell.
Why? Because
there is nothing like a road network.
Government.
And their living there is too poor. So all these, we are soliciting for Mr. President or whosoever is coming as FCT minister should look at our rural areas.
Okay, so that's your cue to say, wrap up the program for us. So let's have your message to the administration now and say, do this, do this, do this, and the FCT will give you 100% support.
All right. So my final message, let me call it final message.
Yeah, call it what you want to.
To the administration of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we pray he will succeed by God's grace and Nigeria will be great. And all what we are soliciting for is FCT should be included in all the activities of the government.
Right.
Mostly rural development. Because in a situation whereby the rural development and security of our lives and properties, like now in FCT, you may have heard of kidnapping and other things. It's happening in our locality. There is mining going on in FCT, in the locality. And those coming, let me say they are China or from other countries. They have security, tight security. But once they paid compensation to our people, the kidnappers will come. They'll go away with
collect
our
the
people.
money
They
that they
collect
have
the money
paid.
they have been paying them. So all this is a problem.
Oh wow, I didn't know
Like
that.
recently in what do they call it? One village here in Kujeria Council, we call it Kabimangoro. People are leaving the town because of kidnappers. Kidnappers are rampantly there, and they are living around with the people. But once those doing the mining camps, they will go freely, nothing will happen to them. Our security in Nigeria are the one protecting them, but there is nothing like security in our area. They killed one of our friends. He's a youth among the FCT youth network. He was killed. They collected his money, kidnapped his wife, but they killed him.
I think I read about it,
yeah, and there is no any report in regards to that. We have been complaining. We have been shouting. We went to this radio, Hembelembe. We made the complaint because we are lacking security in our rural areas. So we are soliciting for this government, if possible, security of our rural area is needed.
Thank you so much. We've been talking with Likita Galadima Karshi. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff, FCT Youth Network. And then, like you said, the government is listening, and we hope that this time around it'll be a different ball game for the FCT in terms of infrastructural development and security, especially in the rural area. Thank you for being on ASO Morning.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, ma.
And that's how we wrap up the program this morning. But of course, we're going to be here same time tomorrow morning till this time. So make it the dates. I'm Ifunaya Yvonne Amafili.
And I am Joy Radimini Asoye. Have a wonderful, productive day. I promise this to be a wonderful week. So hang into that promise.